I think the most ideal thing that a builder can build is something that doesn't need instructions. So you'll actually be able to just like call Rafiki and say, hey, generate a link for me to swap Bitcoin to Ethereum. And Rafiki will be able to use LeoKit's API to generate that channel for you. And then Rafiki will generate a QR code for you and then basically reply to your thread with that QR code. And then you'll scan that QR code with your Dash wallet. You'll hit send on the Dash wallet and then it'll swap it and then you'll receive Bitcoin in whatever Bitcoin address you gave Rafiki. If you want real human interaction, the best way to get it is in person. So I think AI will actually drive us. You either get with the times and change or you become irrelevant eventually. So while I let you guys kind of roll in, I know it's a bit of an off time. Let's talk about LeoKit. So I saw actually a good thread earlier today, and obviously a lot of you guys have been using Rafiki. We can get into that too. Someone asked Rafiki what has been going on with the Leoverse lately, and Rafiki said there hasn't been an AMA in 2 weeks, so that was pretty funny and very accurate. But one thing that kind of came up in that conversation was essentially like what has been worked on lately, and obviously without the AMAs, you guys haven't seen kind of the in-depth look at what we're doing. But if you follow on X or on Threads, I post pretty heavily about what we're doing in real time. So the team has been full force focused on LeoKit. So LeoKit development has been pretty challenging. You know, what we're building with that is pretty immense in terms of architecture and infrastructure. You know, we've put a lot of dev hours into it, and really the whole team is actually working on it and has been for the last couple of weeks. So you've probably noticed a lot of focus pouring into that specifically, and that is a very like heavy back end thing. Obviously there's not that there's no front end work, but there's very little for like the customer side of things, or, you know, for example, like the consumer side. This is very, LeoKit is a B2B product, right? So in terms of, you know, Leo users and the existing user base on Leo and LeoDex, you obviously wouldn't see a whole lot when it comes to LeoKit. What you will see is the volume of LeoDex growing, because LeoKit obviously contributes to it. We'll most likely split LeoKit into its own affiliate address. We haven't actually decided that yet. Right now, it just goes into Leo. But we'll probably set up a separate affiliate address just so we can track specifically what's coming from LeoKit versus what's coming from LeoDex in terms of volume. What is LeoKit would be a good place to start. So I think, you know, I saw some questions asking what it actually is. So there's something called SwapKit, and then there's something else called DKit, and those are the two kind of main, basically cross-chain integration B2B products that exist in the market today. LeoKit is actually something completely different. It offers the same end functionality, but it does it a unique way. And the way it does it is via APIs. So using APIs, LeoKit basically allows any integrator who, you know, for example, is an app or a wallet, it allows them to essentially integrate cross-chain swaps seamlessly and literally in just a few clicks. So the way this is working, and obviously this is where all the dev focus is, there's a dashboard, and that is the front end for LeoKit, and it will be on its own domain. So basically any integrator that wants to add LeoKit to their app or wallet will be able, and an example of an integrator might be MetaMask or Phantom Wallet, for example. So any integrator that wants to add LeoKit will go to the dashboard for LeoKit, and very similar to other softwares, especially like SaaS, you know, software as a service, or, you know, B2B products, they'll go to this dashboard and they'll basically create an API. So they'll kind of like create an account or a wallet, more accurately, and then from there, the LeoKit dashboard, and we've already built all of this out. So we're already, you know, we're pretty much in like a closed beta now, and the open beta should be live as soon as this week. The integrator goes there, they create a wallet, which is basically an account, and then they're able to generate an API key by basically following some very simple steps. So they start by setting the parameters for what they want. So they can say, you know, and there's, at launch, there's going to be 5 protocols. So Thorchain, Maya Protocol, Chainflip, Relay, and Near Intense. So there's going to be 5 protocols available at launch, and then we'll add more as time goes on. And essentially, the integrator can choose, do I want to have all 5 of these protocols, or do I just want 1, or do I want 2, or do I want 3? And they basically can choose, you know, however many of those they want to support, and then, or just all of them. And then they, from there, the next step is they can choose assets. So they can either choose to support all the available assets on LeoKit, which is, you know, like thousands of assets, or they can just like pick and choose individually. So they can say, I want Bitcoin and I want Ethereum swaps. and nothing else. Or they can say, I want USDT swaps and Zcash swaps and nothing else. Or they can just say, I want these 30 tokens and nothing else. So it's very modular. And those are just two of the parameters. There's obviously more parameters now, and there will be more in the future, where integrators can essentially just pick and choose what they want and don't want. Once they've picked the parameters, they then click generate API key. From there, it generates the API key for them to use on their app or wallet or whatever they've built, and then they literally just paste in the API key, and then they have to just build the UI around it. But what the API does is basically generate the deposit transaction for the swap. So what it does is it basically pre-fills all the information. It generates a swap channel, so to speak, and then from there, the user interface then shows the user, okay, click swap. They click swap, and then the user, whatever their input crypto is, let's say they're swapping Bitcoin to Ethereum, it then swaps the Bitcoin through that channel into Ethereum. And it does it using whatever protocol the user selected, or if the app just wants it to select the best protocol for that specific swap, LeoKit will just determine what the best protocol is to facilitate that swap, and then it just does it through that. So it does it based on the price and the time that it takes to complete that swap. So LeoKit is essentially a B2B plug and play product where any application or interface or wallet can add cross-chain swaps through the 5 protocols I mentioned, and do so in a way that is extremely easy. And then along with that, LeoKit charges, and I think this is actually the first time I've talked about this publicly, but LeoKit charges a 10 basis point fee on every swap. That is lower than the industry standard. I think most of the other ones are charging like 15 to 20 basis points for most integrators, and then they have some kind of backroom deals on some where they charge a little bit less. But overall, LeoKit should be a lot cheaper than the other integrations out there, both in terms of the fees that get charged on every single swap, and then also in terms of the requirements to integrate, because the integration of LeoKit is extremely simple. It is not like most of the other ones are SDKs, really, at the end of the day. LeoKit is an API. It is, in simple terms, vastly easier. Like I think even someone with no coding experience would be able to add LeoKit to like a vibe coded interface or website, for example, and have cross-chain swaps be available. I think LeoKit's going to be kind of a big moment for us. Probably the biggest thing that we've ever developed in terms of its capabilities, and also in terms of the target market that's out there. We're obviously building LeoDex and bringing in kind of that B2C element of going after people who do cross-chain swaps and giving them the best interface and experience we can. But LeoKit is going after, big wallets and apps who want cross-chain swaps on all these different protocols, and want to do so in a way that is like low overhead, very easy to integrate, and has good support, and all of that. So there isn't really a good solution out there, in my opinion, not one that tackles it in a way that is easy to integrate and widely accessible with low fees. So I think that LeoKit is going to blow these solutions out of the water. If you guys saw the list of integrators that we have already that have committed to integrating LeoKit, I think you'd be extremely surprised by some of the names on there. You'll definitely recognize those names. It's an incredible time for us in terms of really bringing the ecosystem full circle on many of these things. So LeoKit overall is where a lot of the focus has been, really all of the focus of the entire Leo team. So that's why we've been a little bit quiet in the best, I guess, the most quiet that we have been. We're pretty active on X and all of the other places. So, quiet for us is kind of relative. But yeah, we've been very focused on this, and then working with these integrators, the early integrators who are, basically giving us feedback, and then working on the, adding their interface and pushing the APIs in there. It's been really good to get some feedback so far. And then, obviously taking things public and putting them live will be a big step. But once they're live, so basically the rollout is like this. We've got a few integrators that we're working with, kind of hand in hand to just get them up and running. And then they're also giving us feedback to improve the LeoKit dashboard and backend. And that's kind of like the closed beta. And then when we move to an open format, it's really going to be, we release this dashboard, and anybody can just go to the dashboard and generate an API key. Any of you guys listening, if let's just say you want to like vibe code a website and have cross-chain swaps, you'll literally be able to just like vibe code any website and then just add cross-chain swaps with an API. And I'm sure you could use AI to just integrate that API with basically zero coding from you at least. So it's an interesting time, and I think a lot of, if you zoom out a little bit, a lot of software development in general is moving in this direction where you've got APIs that are running everything, and I've talked about this a lot in the past, but you've got APIs that are running pretty much everything, and then you've got these vibe coded interfaces and AI that is able to essentially build the end user experience around it, but the APIs at the end of the day are kind of running the show behind the scenes. So LeoKit is very much in alignment with where I think software development is heading, and in terms of timeline, like I said, the current rollout plan is to work with these integrators who are hand in hand working with us, giving us feedback and adding it. And I don't want to announce any of their names just yet, but when they announce that they've got cross-chain swaps, it'll obviously have the LeoKit name attached to it. So it'll be a lot of fun for us, a lot of work on the marketing side as well to do these collaborations. And I think overall really positive, because you have to think of it in two ways. In one way, we've got LeoKit now on these wallets where any swap that happens is actually volume for LeoDex, because it's a 10 basis point fee that gets charged on every swap. And then you've also got the secondary element, which is it actually is advertising LeoDex to the world, because if people know that LeoKit is not only operating on all these apps and wallets, it's also the main platform behind LeoDex. It actually will drive more users to LeoDex. And I was talking to somebody about that, one of the integrators, who essentially just mentioned that LeoDex's place in the marketplace is kind of interesting right now because it is a cross-chain swapping interface. But when LeoKit is live, it actually kind of becomes something different. It becomes basically a demo environment for LeoKit. It almost is like having like an Apple store, to showcase all the different products that Apple has. The store itself isn't the moneymaker, it's the products that are there. So LeoDex kind of becomes like a storefront that is essentially selling the LeoKit B2B product to other apps and wallets. So that's not to say that the volume or anything like that is less important on LeoDex. It actually becomes even more relevant as that happens, because the LeoDex interface will have more swappers than ever before. But it's pretty fascinating to think about what's going to happen when people see that LeoKit is out there and better than the other solutions that are currently live, and then how that drives into LeoDex itself. But really just kind of, like I said, it kind of rounds the corner and closes the loop of the Leo economy when it comes to cross-chain swapping. So I think it's pretty awesome. I'm seeing a couple questions, so let me dive in there. And by the way, if you want to drop questions, feel free to drop them in the Threadcast or in any of the chat rooms. I see some people commenting on YouTube, so I'll go through those too. So you can comment anywhere. Obviously, I prefer if it's on chain, but feel free to comment on YouTube or anywhere else, and I will answer them. It's a solo AMA today. Usually, I've got Mitch as my co-host, co-pilot, but today I'll be doing it by myself. So more questions is more better. But that kind of covers us in terms of LeoKit development and where we're at. It is a lot of work. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm just like, the amount of workload that goes into not only developing it this time, but LeoKit's a lot different than what we've built in the past, because it requires us to work with different apps and integrators, and that is a lot of work in and of itself. So we've been working super hard on it. Let me go through the questions on YouTube first. Gumming Gubby Gubby, I don't even know how to pronounce that name. Hey, Digital Cash Network said good stuff. Maria said hello. Digital Cash Network, obviously our friends at Dash, said, is LeoKit supporting Maya and Near Intents out of the gate as well as Dash? Yeah. So out of the gate, LeoKit supports Maya protocol, Near Intents, Thorchain, Chainflip, and Relay protocol. So 5 protocols to start, and then we'll add more over time. LeoDex supports 107 DEXes now, I think, which is pretty crazy. I mean, we've been just blasting away on the integrations for LeoDex, which I think is a little underappreciated. But yeah, we're up to like 107 DEXes now or something on LeoDex, which literally means if you want to swap anything cross-chain, I don't think there is a better interface out there in terms of finding the best price for your cross-chain swap, because LeoDex literally, like if you're going to swap Bitcoin to Ethereum, for example, you go to LeoDex, you put Bitcoin in and Ethereum out, and it's going to pull the quotes from 107 different DEXes. So, Uniswap, Thorchain, Maya, Chainflip, Near Intents, Relay, Jupiter. Like there's so many DEXes that are out there. and we're literally pulling from 107 of them. So I think if you want to get the best price for your cross-chain swaps, there is no better interface to do it than LeoDex, because it's just pulling from so many different routes. And if you want to test that and test what I just said and confirm it, feel free to like pull up LeoDex and do it side by side with any other cross-chain swapping interface. And every time I do it, I would say literally 99% of the time, the quote that I get on LeoDex is always cheaper than other interfaces. And I think a lot of that has to do with, obviously, LeoDex charges a lower fee than most interfaces, but also LeoDex is pulling from so many different DEX in order to get that quote for you, that it is just finding you the most superior swap that is possible. Long story short, LeoKit will have 5 routes to start, or 5 protocols to start, and then it'll scale up from there. And yeah, it will support Dash as well. It also supports Dash. And I know that Dash is on Maya protocol now, and possibly on near intent soon. It will support Dash, obviously, on Maya protocol now. And then it's literally the same day that Dash is live on near intents, I'll make sure that Dash is supported on LeoKit. SwapKit has an API. How is LeoKit's API different? SwapKit actually requires a lot more than an API. I know that they do have APIs, but it is more of an SDK that they require for integration. So I do think that, and I've compared these side by side. LeoKit is vastly easier to integrate, and it is kind of like there's like a legacy system versus like the modern system, and I think LeoKit is the modern one. It focuses on the API and less so on the SDK. So we don't even have an SDK. It's just the API, and it's fully modular. So I would say the kind of 3 big benefits of LeoKit over other kits that are out there: 1, it has a lower fee, so it's obviously cheaper for integrators. 2, it is easier to integrate, so it is. We had someone test how long it would take to just add LeoKit's API to their wallet, and it took them less than 60 minutes to have cross-chain swaps. So literally in under an hour, someone was able to add it and have cross-chain swaps. So it's easier to integrate, obviously faster, less overhead. And then I would say the third main big benefit of LeoKit is that it's fully modular. And I have not seen this in other kits, where literally the integrator has a dashboard and they can just pick and choose whatever they want to support or not support. And there's a lot of integrators out there who want to support some protocols and don't want to support other ones. They want to support some assets and not other assets. And having the ultimate choice be in the hands of the integrator is really where I want to see things. And that's where I think things are headed. There are a lot of different philosophies in crypto. There are plenty of people and apps, wallets, users, etc., that don't support some protocols, that don't support some assets from a philosophical standpoint. So by building LeoKit in this way, we've built it so that no matter what your views are, maybe you just want to have everything and you want to support all protocols and simply give your users the best swaps. Well, that's all possible in LeoKit. Or maybe you have a certain philosophy around some protocols are better than others, some assets are better than others. We only want to support the ones that we philosophically align with. And you can do all of that on LeoKit's dashboard. You don't need to request things. You don't need to, manually add or ask for anything. You literally just go to the dashboard and you can do everything from there. And that is the vision of LeoKit. Another question from Digital Cash Network: will LeoKit have support for Leo QR code swaps or BIP70 TXO connect the wallet stand-in? So I know Joel reached out to me about the BIP70 thing. So we'll take a look at that as kind of like one of the first roadmap items after we get LeoKit live. But it will be able to support Leo's version of QR code swaps. If an integrator wants to allow their users to just have a QR code to swap, or even just like a send to address to swap, that'll all be possible within LeoKit's APIs. So again, this is another reason why I think there's some superior aspects to it than other kits that are out there, is that for a lot of wallets and apps and integrators, they haven't been able to integrate things like SwapKit, for example, or DKit, because they can't support all these different wallets. So the way those ones are designed is that they have to build support for the wallet. Some protocols can't support certain wallets, or at least it would take a lot of dev hours to do so, and they're not prioritizing it. So with LeoKit's API, the way it all works is that it can be used in any wallet. And I think that if you wanted to tack on a fourth benefit, the ease of use is one aspect, but the wide-ranging accessibility is another big aspect. With the APIs that we've built, very similar to the QR code to swap, it allows support for all wallets, even without connecting a wallet. You can literally just open, because it works more like opening a channel and then swapping through that channel, as opposed to some of the other integrations that are out there. And those integrations often require memos, which means that you have kind of a narrow way to perform a swap, which is why a lot of wallets aren't compatible. Is there some documentation or pre-release API that I can give to the Dash devs to look at now? There is documentation for LeoKit. They're not live yet. So like I said, we're working with integrators who want to work hand in hand with us first, because that also leads us to how we write the docs and how we have everything kind of laid out in terms of both the UI and the docs. It's very easy to integrate. Like, the docs are very minuscule, because really the docs are more like outlining the descriptions of things as opposed to telling you how to do it, because the dashboard makes it literally so easy. It doesn't really need instructions. It's like, I think the most ideal thing that a builder can build is something that doesn't need instructions or an instruction manual. So LeoKit doesn't really need an instruction manual. It actually more needs like a table of contents at the end of the day. The documentation is more like, here's how things work behind the scenes. Here's how, here's what's supported. Here's what we plan to support. And the dashboard itself and the APIs itself kind of speak for what they do. And you don't really need instructions. But that being said, we still do have instructions, just because I know that it's important. And if you can answer a question in docs, it's better than answering it in person, so to speak. But I would say if the Dash devs want to integrate, they should just reach out to us. And obviously I have a connection with Joel, so I don't know if that's Joel commenting. But yeah, I would say it's best to just work hand in hand with us at this stage, because when we roll it out to the open platform, that'll be like the open playing field for anybody to integrate. Gil said, AMA on a Wednesday, nice. Yeah, we had to do a little bit of a schedule shift, but I didn't want to miss this many weeks of AMAs in a row. Monkmaster said, when swap integration directly on Inleo could maybe get fees from the Inleo users who won't do LeoDex. Yeah, that's actually something that we will integrate after LeoKit goes live. It'll be kind of one of the integrations that we work on, which will be pretty fun because we're kind of on the other side of it then, which will be to add LeoKit to Inleo. So you'll be able to do swaps directly from Inleo. I also posted a thread a few weeks back while we were working on LeoKit, and I was talking about how I want to integrate LeoKit into Rafiki. So you'll actually be able to just like call Rafiki and say, hey, generate a link for me to swap Bitcoin to Ethereum. And Rafiki will be able to use LeoKit's API to generate that channel for you, and then basically just give you instructions on how to use it. So for example, like Rafiki could have his own little connection website where it basically like puts the QR. It actually probably could be done even better, where Rafiki basically just creates a QR code. And if you say, I want to swap Bitcoin to Ethereum, and then Rafiki will ask you what receiving address you want, and then confirm the swap details, and then give you a QR code where you can then just scan it directly from Threads and then perform the swap directly in whatever wallet you're in. So for example, let's say you're in the Dash wallet and you want to swap some Dash to, let's just say Dash to Bitcoin. So you could go to Threads and you could say, at ask Rafiki, I want to swap 10 Dash to, whatever amount of Bitcoin that'll be, let's just say 0.01 Bitcoin. And then Rafiki will generate a QR code for you and then basically reply to your thread with that QR code. And then you'll scan that QR code with your Dash wallet. And then you'll literally just hit swap, or you'll hit send on the Dash wallet. And then it'll swap it, and then you'll receive Bitcoin in whatever Bitcoin address you gave Rafiki. So for example, that could be how it works on Inleo. And then we could also add like actual UIs on Inleo, like directly in the wallet. So for example, the Inleo wallet would let you swap between cross-chain assets. So it can get pretty interesting. And again, it's all driven by LeoKit. So LeoKit's able to run that entire backend for us. Monk Masters also said, are most early integrators wallets or other applications? It's pretty split. I would say it's mostly wallets and then a few other applications, but it's mostly wallets, and it's big wallets. I think when we come out with the list of people who are integrating, people will be extremely surprised. But there is part of the reason, and I've talked about LeoKit before, that I wanted to build it in the future, and this is going back like maybe 6 months ago. I was talking about how I wanted to build it in the future, but I wanted to get LeoDex to a certain place before we did so. And a big reason we've been sprinting on LeoKit is because there's a lot of people who are unhappy with the existing solutions, and they want something better. They want something faster. They want something easier. They want something that's cheaper. They want something with better support. where people that actually care are behind it. And that has been made abundantly clear to me by the people I've been talking to. And this goes back now maybe like 2 months ago, where I then said, okay, we need to sprint on LeoKit. We need to get this thing done. We need to get this thing rolled out, and we need to get it into the hands of these integrators who are unhappy with the existing solutions and are clawing at the bit to switch integrators and get on LeoKit. So I'm excited. I think this will bring, I think in a single month, when LeoKit is like fully integrated and in a single month, I think it will beat the all-time revenue, but also all-time volume of LeoDex. And I think it'll do that in a single month. So that's how big I think LeoKit is. And with some of these integrators, I mean, they might beat it in a single day because they're already doing. And by the way, it's very hard to build something like LeoDex from the ground up and get volume. We've been doing a lot on that front, and we've grown from $0 in volume earlier in 2025, which is when LeoDex started, to now we're doing $5-6 million a month in volume. That has been extremely difficult. It's very hard to go from 0 to 1. But the big difference between LeoKit and LeoDex is that with LeoKit, we're tapping into integrators and wallets who already have a big user base. So some of these wallets have 100,000 plus monthly active users, and they already are doing, for example, $10 to $50 million in cross-chain swaps volume every single month. They're already doing that. They don't need to advertise cross-chain swaps to their users. They just want to replace what they're using right now with something that is cheaper, better, faster, and with better support, and more wide-ranging support as well. It is much different than trying to go from 0 to 1 when you have no volume, because these integrators already have volume. We're just giving them a superior solution, a superior backend to service that volume. So it's going to be very interesting to see once it goes live and starts getting some good integrations. But yeah, we've got a few, I would say probably 12 to 15 like hard commitments in terms of integrating LeoKit, and then we've got a bunch of other people that we've got calls lined up with, that we're working with to make sure essentially that we're doing everything that they want in terms of support, and then provided that we are and we do that, they're going to integrate. So I would say within the first 3 months of LeoKit being live, maybe three to 5 months, if you want to be a little bit longer on the risk curve of that. I'd say within the first 3 to 5 months, we'll have 12 integrations live using LeoKit. So that'll be pretty awesome to see, and that'll be like 12 apps and wallets, and like I said, some of which have like 100,000 monthly active users. It's pretty nuts. Welcome, David. Thanks for coming by. Intishar, no, you're not too late. Thanks for coming by. Sino said, ooh, AMA. Welcome. Said we're making headway gradually. Yep. We're getting there. It's a lot of work, obviously, but we are getting there. Monkmaster said Rafiki swaps would definitely be fun. I agree. I think it'd be a lot of fun. I mean, you could even imagine like Rafiki, you could tell Rafiki, okay, remind when Bitcoin hits 89,000, reply, basically thread and at me with a QR code to swap 89 whatever Bitcoin at 89,000 into Ethereum, and then you can like pre-fill all those details. It might remind you of like the at remind me bot on X, where you can like remind yourself of a tweet. You could say remind me of this tweet in 6 months. You could ask Rafiki to remind me to take profits on Bitcoin 6 months from now, or remind me to take profits on Bitcoin when it hits 90K. And then Rafiki will comment and reply to you once Bitcoin hits 90K, and it'll say, hey, remember you told me to remind you to swap Bitcoin when it hits 90K. Here's a link to do that. And it can actually just do the swap for you. Obviously, you need to confirm it in your own wallet, but he can at least pre-fill all the details and send you a simple QR code to scan and then swap. So pretty amazing. But this is kind of just the beginning of what's possible. I mean, we're just scratching the surface of the AI stuff as well. So we're kind of merging everything together. There's like this, and I've threaded about this, but there's an incredible convergence that's happening with all the Leo products, where they're all coming together. And I think this is a great thing. In this era of AI, it's creating a convergence really for every business. And if you can pull things together and tighten things in a way that makes the ecosystem more cohesive, you can succeed much bigger than before. And AI is making a lot of that possible. So it is fascinating to see. I see Morty asked Rafiki to summarize this threadcast. I think that should work. Let's see. I'm going to read Rafiki's answer. Let's see how good it is. Leo AM broadcast summary. Cal kicked off the AMA focusing on LeoKit, a B2B SaaS tool for seamless cross-chain swap integrations. It's designed for apps, wallets and apps to add swaps via a few clicks, aiming to become the AWS of cross-chain infrastructure. Key goals: drive millions in annual revenue to the Leo token economy. All hands Leo team effort on this. The thread invites live Q&A. Drop your questions below. No user questions summarized yet. It's still early in the session. And then it gives you a link to learn more. So kind of good. I think could be a little bit better because there are some questions, but obviously he's reading the questions, but the answers are audio, and he's not getting the live audio till after this is posted because then he'll get the transcription. So yeah, I don't know if we can make Rafiki better in terms of summarizing AMA threadcast, but basically when the AMA is over, you'll be able to take the video and ask Rafiki to summarize it for you because the transcript. But yeah, you can see that the use cases of Rafiki are continuing to grow. Maybe a good little segue into what we're doing with Rafiki. So if you don't know, Rafiki is the Leo AI LLM that we've built. Rafiki is trained on all data posted on InLeo. So that is all threads and all blog posts. Right now in the 1.0 version, if you missed the live launch blog post, 1.0 Rafiki is trained on my blog posts and threads. It's also trained on InLeo's, the main accounts blog posts and threads, and then also Leo Strategy's blog posts and threads. So kind of like the official channels in terms of the Leo projects and updates. That is the available training data if you ask Rafiki questions now. And that's obviously in addition to the generalized training that he has. So he's also generally trained on basically the entire internet. And then in addition to that, he does have basically internet access. So he has like search functionality. So if you ask him, what the current price of Bitcoin is, he actually will search basically the AI version of Googling what the current price of Bitcoin is. And then he'll tell you what the current price of Bitcoin is. So that search functionality was added, like a week or two after we launched Rafiki. So we've been, if you use Rafiki regularly, like I have been saying, if you use Rafiki every single day, you'll notice improvements literally every single day. He gets better every time you interact with him. And it's not just because he's getting better because we're doing stuff and we're tweaking things, which we are, and we're adding new features and capabilities like search and other things like that. But he also gets better because all the conversation context, whenever you guys interact with him, that context is added to his training model. So every time you interact with him, he gets better. His answers get better. If you tell him he makes a mistake, because he often does, as most AIs do, he'll actually learn from that and improve, next time. So it's good to at least, if you use Rafiki, use Rafiki and see if the answers make sense. And if they don't make sense, you can say, hey, Rafiki, this doesn't make sense because of X, Y, and Z. He'll learn from that and get better for the next time. But his answers are already amazing. I mean, it's pretty incredible to see how far Rafiki has come in a short period of time already, and really, truly just the beginning of what's possible in terms of Rafiki. So if you know the roadmap at all, we're moving towards Rafiki 2.0. The 2.0 model has the training data of all users, or it has the training data of all premium users, threads and blog posts. So if you're an InLeo premium user, you'll be able to ask Rafiki about your own threads and your own blog posts. You can say, what did I say on December 17th, 2024? And Rafiki will be able to pull that up in terms of threads and blog posts and say, well, you were talking about X, Y, and Z. You made 3 threads about it and you made a blog post about it on December 17th, 2024. So you'll be able to do questions like that. And then, you could even ask Rafiki for blog post ideas. Then he'll scrape all your blog posts and say, well, you tend to write about these topics. Here's, 3 ideas based on those topics, for example. So a lot of different things like that. So that is Rafiki 2.0, and it will bring a lot of value to premium users, especially. And in general, you'll notice that and I've obviously already been playing around with a lot of this stuff, but you'll notice that a lot of the questions that you ask are getting superior answers simply because the training data is more wide. So even if you're asking about things that you didn't post about with Rafiki 2.0, the 2.0 model, he is giving you far better answers on those questions just because his training data is better. For example, asking about things like the recent Hive hard fork, or asking about things like, what's the Leo price been doing lately, or what are people saying about Leo? His answers are going to be even better. So fascinating to see how far that has come in a short period of time, but really how much more there is to go. There's so much to add in terms of Rafiki. And if you think what you see now is anything special, just wait. Give it about a month. There's some pretty cool stuff on the horizon. Outside of that, for Rafiki, the 2.0 model will be a big moment, and then the addition of premium content and stuff like that will also be very valuable. Rafiki will also have his own interface, so that'll go live sometime in early 2026. You'll be able to go to a basically ChatGPT like interface specifically for Rafiki, and only premium users will have access to that. So if you're in Leo Premium, you'll be able to use that. If you're not premium, you might be able to ask, like one question a day. And then if you want to ask more, you'll need to go premium. So there'll be some kind of freemium model around that. So that will go live sometime in early 2026. And then we're also going to add Copilot features to Inleo directly. So for example, you can imagine a little icon in the bottom right that looks kind of like a chat icon, and that icon will be for Rafiki. So for example, if you're writing a blog post, and let's just say you're writing a blog post, you're like 3 paragraphs in, and you're running short on ideas. Let's say you're writing a blog post about what Bitcoin is doing today. Let's say you started by talking about the Bitcoin price, and you're talking about the inflows and outflows of Bitcoin, and then you kind of run out of ideas, and you say, you click the Rafiki button, and obviously this is also only for Inleo Premium users. You click the Rafiki button and you say, hey, Rafiki, I am having issues thinking of what to write next. And Rafiki will read what you've written so far. He'll say, well, you're writing about Bitcoin, you're writing about the Bitcoin price and the inflows and outflows. Have you thought about adding a section talking about, the longs and shorts liquidations that are happening right now? And then, could you follow that up with a paragraph that talks about centralized exchange outflows and inflows, and then maybe follow that up with a conclusion about what you think this means for the future of the Bitcoin price. And Rafiki will give you all those ideas, and then you can take those ideas and continue writing using them. And then if you want to generate AI content, obviously on Hive, AI content is typically frowned upon. I think it depends on how you use it. I don't frown upon it by itself. But if you want to generate text to put into your blog post directly, Rafiki can generate text and put it directly into your blog posts. The one stipulation is when Rafiki generates text and puts it into your blog post, on the Inleo interface, it's going to say that this was AI generated. Like for example, a reader can hover over it and see that it was AI generated. I think there's some people that are battling, especially long form writers, that are like battling AI, thinking, AI is ruining long form content because you don't know what's real and what's not anymore. The same thing is obviously going to happen inevitably with Hollywood, and it's already kind of happening. And people saying that, well, there's images and videos that are now AI created, and it's hard to tell what's real because it keeps getting better and better. That has already happened for text. I mean, text is very hard to distinguish what is AI generated and what is not when it comes to text. Images and videos are next. It's just going to continue happening. Audio is already hard to distinguish. I've heard some songs where you listen to the song and you're like, is this audio AI generated audio? And it's hard to tell. You can kind of tell sometimes based on the quality that it doesn't sound like studio sound quality, but that's also improving every single day. So I'm not in the business of fighting technology. I'm in the business of integrating technology and looking forward to what's happening, and figuring out how we can integrate it to make the Leo token economy, more successful. So fighting AI generated content is not a good strategy. What I think is a better approach is allowing people to use AI tools to generate content or improve content, but then just make it obvious that it was AI generated. Perhaps someone writes a blog post, and I'm not suggesting that you use it to, write a whole blog post, but you may use Rafiki to add a paragraph or modify a paragraph. Well, that's totally fine. When a reader comes in and hovers over your paragraphs, it will clearly show which ones were AI generated and which ones were not. And then it's the reader's decision to say, well, especially on Hive, reader's decision to say, well, 99% of this blog post was human written, and then they just added 1% of the blog post is like improvements made by AI. That doesn't bother me, and I'll upvote this, and that's for the human to decide. I'm not in the business of saying that you shouldn't generate AI content. I'm in the business of saying give the users the tools to make the best decisions that they can. That goes for both the reader and the writer. So the writer will have superior tools for writing, and the reader will have superior tools for detecting what's AI and what's not, so that they can then decide what they want to do with their votes. So I hope that all makes sense. I know this is like a hotly debated topic, but really, it's not going anywhere. So I would say make the tools the best that you can to give users maximal choice. And that's what I've always. Monk Master said, premium is the way. It absolutely is. If you're not premium, you are missing out. I think it is the single, I posted this yesterday actually. I think it is the single best use case of HBD that is out there, is to go premium on Inleo and then post regularly. So when you're premium, you get more visibility in the feeds, which leads to higher rewards. So it's kind of like this organic thing that happens where if you're appearing in the feeds more frequently, you're naturally going to get rewarded more. You're going to get more upvotes. And there's pay to promote tools on things like PeakD and Ecency, for example. What we've done instead is, rather than like you can't like pay a little bit of Hive to promote your post, but you can go premium and then your post just appears more in the feeds, which is almost like a perpetual pay to promote feature where instead of paying to promote a specific blog post, you kind of like pay to promote your account, and then your account just appears more in all the feeds organically and you'll get way more upvotes. I would love to see someone do a study on premium users and the rewards that they get. The rewards that premium users get is vastly higher than non-premiums. And if you add this to the study, I don't think it's just from Leo.voter, which obviously we use to curate. Also, we use to curate premiums and non-premiums. And if you're premium, we often just increase the voting percentage. But I actually think a lot of the rewards are just coming from other users, because when other users, especially Leo users, see that you're premium, they are way more incentivized to upvote you and support you for two reasons. One, because you're premium and that supports the Leo token economy. And two, because you're appearing more in their feed and they're just naturally voting you more. So it's pretty great. Morty said not necessarily more rewards on threads. I disagree. I actually think the rewards for threading have increased substantially. And you guys have probably noticed we're using the comment rewarder system on Hive now. So basically that is how rewards get distributed to the most engaged with threads. So if you're a highly engaging user on threads, which means you comment a lot, you thread a lot, you repost other people comment on you, et cetera, then you'll get more upvotes, which then lead to more rewards through the comment rewarder system. So threads actually are earning, aggregate total, are earning more rewards now than they ever were before. So they're earning Hive, HBD, and Leo on all threads and all blog posts that are posted on Inleo. And Inleo is the only place where you can earn Leo, by the way, on Hive. So if you know other Hivers that are not posting on Inleo, whether they're posting threads or blogs or both, they are missing out. So I would encourage them to join. Senor Coconut said AMA today now. Yeah, AMA is live. Maybe not for much longer. We'll go for a little bit longer. As long as you guys have questions, I will answer them. But you might be able to hear that my voice is starting to go. A couple more questions, and then we will call it a day. It's been an hour. Monkmaster said, if you like it and can't tell if it's real, it doesn't matter from an entertainment standpoint. If you're looking for truth, that is another matter. Maybe AI will make people more skeptical and search diligently for truth. Yeah, I agree. I think it depends on what your goal is. If your goal is to be entertained, who cares where that content came from? I mean, if you feel like everything you consume needs to come from a human, well, there's also a way to do that, and you can figure that out probably by watching like live streams of humans. I actually heard something interesting. I think it was Elon that said this. It could be wrong. And basically what he said is in-person events are going to become more and more valuable, and basically like concerts and comedy shows and things like that. People are actually going to be driven to be more in person because of AI. Because if you want that pure human interaction, well, you can't really trust it to come from digital platforms anymore, because you don't know what's AI and what's not. So the most pure human interactions that you'll get will be in person, which is actually probably a good thing, because if you want human interaction, I wouldn't suggest that you go to social media. I wouldn't suggest that you go to Twitter, obviously X. I wouldn't suggest that you go to YouTube. I wouldn't suggest that you even go to Inleo or Facebook or Instagram. If you want real human interaction, the best way to get it is in person. So I think AI will actually drive us. I think it was Elon that said that, but whoever said that, I agree with that take. I think AI will drive us to do more things in person and focus less on getting like digital dopamine hits. And this has been a problem, and a growing problem, for a long time, even before the AI explosion that happened. If you look at like Instagram, even like 5+ years ago, people were, and still are, tweaking their image. Like they're using, what is it called, Facetune, to change not only their face but their body. So you're not even getting a pure look at a human because they're altering it, right? You can just kind of look at this as a spectrum, which is like people were already altering what they showed on social media, which was already altering society, because people, if you're not getting a pure human interaction, start to believe things that aren't true. Well, if you then take that, way off to the spectrum, which is now you have AI slop and all these other AI generated content platforms and people, that's just kind of like the most advanced form of what was already happening. So really, if you're looking for pure human interaction, it's going to be in real life. That's where you're going to go for it. If you want entertainment, if you want entertainment, who cares if it's AI generated or not? You're watching a movie, you're watching a show, you're watching a TikTok video, whatever. It's some of it's going to come from AI, some of it's going to come from humans. That's just is what it is. And if you want, news, who cares if an AI is the one that scrapes the internet and then tells you the news? Who cares if it's an AI that collects statistics and then shares those statistics with you? In fact, the AI is probably more reliable than a human for those specific use cases. So it's, in a world where things have changed, you either need to change or not use those things and find out how to keep them out of your life. But you're not going to keep them out of the platform. And that is where I think people go wrong, is that they think that they can keep them off the platform. And that is simply never going to work. So it reminds me of the people that, for example, from like 1998 to 2005, like there was a huge group of people that didn't want to put their business on the internet. They didn't want to create a website, and they chose to not participate in the internet. Well, those people are either out of business now, or eventually came around to the idea of having a website. There is no in between. So that is kind of where society's at. I mean, that's the tale as old as time, which is you either get with the times and change, or you become irrelevant eventually. Corona surely kicked that rising value of present events off. I think you mean like in real life events. Yeah, I mean, but we're kind of seeing that revert, right? Like people are back to wanting to see each other. I mean, that's been for years now. But yeah, I mean, I don't really see the problem, to be honest. I see that there's solutions, and it's up to the person to decide. Again, kind of goes with my philosophy, which I guess you can see clearly there, which is give people maximal choice and let them make their own decisions. Monkmaster said, comment rewarder is also the way. I also vote every Leo thread container 100% and interact as much as possible. It greatly increases rewards. Yeah, you can trail the Leo Threads account, so at Leo Threads. And if you vote the containers, basically what happens is the container takes that and it basically creates its own rewards pool. This is the best explanation of how it works. So each container is basically a rewards pool for all the threads inside that container. So if you want to trail that and upvote the container, then it increases the size of the rewards pool for all the threads that are then posted inside that container. Then the rewards get distributed to people based on engagement inside that container. So more engagement means more rewards. So Monk Masters has noticed, and I also noticed, that he's one of the top earners. You'll notice that Monk Masters not only posts his own threads, he's also commenting frequently and replying to other people. So if you want to earn the most rewards, commenting, engaging, posting regularly on threads, that is how you get the most rewards. As people engage with you and reply to you, you'll notice that you are earning vastly more. So that's the important kind of way to operate on the platform. Let's see. I think I'm getting caught up here. A couple questions from more. What's up with shorts on Inleo? Shorts use 3Speak, and I'm not sure that they support shorts anymore. I don't really know what's been going on with 3Speak, but it hasn't been working for the past couple months. So shorts is an interface to 3Speak's backend. So if their backend's not working, then shorts won't work either. But if anybody knows different, you're welcome to put me in touch with someone from 3Speak and we can figure it out. How's the subscription thing on Inleo going? Any stats? It's going well. There's some people that use it heavily. It is going well. Basically, it's like Substack, but on chain, and it uses encrypted text on chain in order to allow people to have basically like newsletters or whatever you want to post to your subscribers for $5 a month. So it's a pretty awesome thing. I still think it's one of the best features we ever built on Inleo. So let's check the YouTube. I think I'm caught up there too. Yeah, looks like I'm caught up. Any final questions before I get everybody out of here? Feel free to drop them. Phil said, what's the update on TNVDA? So TNVDA is Tokenized Nvidia by Leo Strategy. Tokenized Nvidia is their latest RWA. I think there's like less than 3,000 now, something like that. There's like about 3,000 tokenized Nvidia left in the pre-sale. So once that sells out, then you'll be able to the yield will start, and then the open trading will begin. Leo Strategy will seed the liquidity pools. Open trading will begin. Yield will start paying out every single day, and then you've got tokenized Nvidia live in the market. The other two are tokenized Tesla and tokenized gold. And they actually posted a thread. It was at the beginning of this threadcast too, where they're working on a conversion feature. So the conversions was meant to be later on the roadmap, but they've moved it up in terms of the timeline, or at least they're considering moving it up because of the market dynamics. So what that basically means is you'll be able to buy the Leo Strategy RWAs, and then you'll be able to convert them out. So what the goal is with that is to actually create a more vibrant trading marketplace. Leo Strategy profits from trades. So when people actively trade RWAs or any of the Leo Strategy assets, that's when Leo Strategy actually makes profits, because it's from the market making. So they're already making a lot of profit from market making the existing asset list. But what they've noticed is if they can increase the trading volume, the profits will increase exponentially. So adding a conversion feature will actually create a lot of back and forth trading on the RWAs that is extremely active in real time. I'm interested to see what that would look like. Obviously, it needs to be built in a very specific way. So we'll see how that rolls out. I kind of know a little bit about the conversion feature. I don't know the full story of how it's supposed to work, but I think it's exciting the way that they've built that, where you'll have kind of two choices. You can buy, for example, like tokenized gold right now is like 12% deviated from the correlation to GLD. If you buy it right now, you get like a 17.5% yield on tokenized gold. That yield is based on the correlation. So you'll have two choices when the conversion feature is live. You can either buy and hold for increased yield, or you can buy and convert for an instant profit on the correlation deviation. It's basically like you can instantly arbitrage, or you can do a yield arbitrage. And that will create a lot more two-sided trading where and I think it will also create a lot more confidence in the existing RWAs and any future ones that might come in the future, down the line. And I think that that's a really great thing for Leo Strategy's model. I mean, you want as much trading volume as possible, because their entire business model is market making. Without trading volume, the market makers don't make that much. As trading volume scales, the market makers' profits scale exponentially. So I think that's going to be a really important piece of the puzzle, and I'd like to see it sooner than later. I know that they planned on it, and the market has changed pretty significantly since those RWAs started going live. I think Bitcoin dropped from like 125,000 to what are we at? 86,000 now. So pretty important overall. If you guys have any more questions, feel free to drop them and I will get to them before I call it. But yeah, I think overall, I guess I haven't given a Leo Strategy update in a little bit. Leo Strategy is doing incredible work. I mean, the level of technical, technology building and technical capabilities within Leo Strategy is really incredible. So whether it's the base connect feature, which really took me by surprise, or the market makers, they are silently building a massive ecosystem within Leo. So it's pretty awesome, and 100% of the profits and benefits from that all just flow into buying more Leo and staking it permanently. So it's benefiting all Leo holders at the end of the day. And one other thing that they're developing right now, so I think that the conversion feature would probably be built after the new market makers go live. So right now they have 5 cross-chain market makers. When tokenized Nvidia sells out, there will be 6. And then the new market maker model will introduce a new market maker for each asset. So let's just say tokenized Nvidia sells out by the time the new market maker is live. That will mean there's 6 cross-chain market makers on the pools. And then the new market maker model is actually on the order book. So that will mean 6 new market makers in addition to the existing 6. So 12 total will be live sometime before the end of this year, which is only 2 weeks away now. And each market maker generates profits. Those profits flow into the purchasing of Leo every day by Leo Strategy, and kind of spin the whole flywheel. So what I think is interesting is the new market makers will actually be driving volume to the trading pairs for the other market makers. So they'll kind of be bouncing back and forth between each other, which we've already kind of seen with even just the different market makers on the assets. So when one market maker trades on, for example, tokenized Tesla, and another one trades on LSTR, you then kind of have this like back and forth that happens where one is disparaging the pool on one side, and then the other one needs to clean that up. So I actually think the same thing is going to happen for the new market makers for all the existing ones. You'll basically double the amount of displacement that happens in all of those pools, which means the profits will, in my opinion, not increase linearly, but exponentially. So the profits should more than double for Leo strategy when the new market makers are live. So I know that that's what they're working on now. And then next might be that conversion feature, depending on how things go. And then after that, I don't know what else they're working on. I know they're working on their dashboard, so I'm not sure what the status is of that, but that should be live sometime soon. And then other than that, they already hit like 4.1 million Leo or something like that. So they are quickly accumulating a ton of Leo. I mean, they're at like 13 or 14% of the whole network. So pretty amazing to see. Welcome, Wananda. Came in a little bit late. We're about to jump off, but the recording will get posted later today. So feel free to listen to the recording or ask Rafiki for a summary. But I think that covers it. So we've been going for what, an hour and 5 minutes. So thanks everybody for coming. I know this was a little impromptu and on a different day than usual. We will do our normally scheduled AMA next Tuesday. That'll be December 23rd. So the day before Christmas Eve. So if you celebrate Christmas, we will have a little bit of a Leo Christmas party, Mitch and I. So join us noon Eastern next Tuesday. Otherwise, we'll catch you later.